Welcome back to the Simply Optimized Lab. Today, we're not just talking about learning a little faster, we are going to systematically dismantle and rebuild the entire process from the ground up, using protocols inspired by some of the world's most effective cognitive operatives.
So let's start with the core problem. Why is traditional learning so slow? The issue is that conventional methods, rereading your notes, rote memorization, they are completely misaligned with how our brains are actually wired. They treat our minds like a filing cabinet, a passive storage device, when it's really a dynamic, high-speed processing engine. And that mismatch, it creates a massive cognitive bottleneck that just throttles our potential. So, our hypothesis for today's experiment is pretty straightforward. We believe we can trigger a radical acceleration in learning speed and retention. How? By reverse engineering the techniques used by these elite operatives and then applying them as a systematic protocol. Our goal is to test this out and give you a functional framework you can use. All right, let's begin the experiment. Okay, Module 1. This one targets the 8 hours a day you're not even conscious, your sleep. We're going to exploit that transition period into sleep for what's called passive memory consolidation. You can essentially turn your brain into a silent, overnight download server. The secret mechanism at play here is something called theta waves. This is the brainwave state you enter right as you're drifting off to sleep. In this state, your cognitive resistance just drops to almost zero, and that barrier between your conscious and subconscious mind becomes, well, permeable. This is the exact window of opportunity we are going to exploit. So, here's the protocol. It's simple. First, you isolate a small, high-value chunk of information. Think key formulas, critical vocabulary words, that kind of thing. Next, you just go online and find a 4 Hz theta wave audio track. As you're listening to it, do one last very brief review of the material. Now, for an advanced trick, you can add a physical anchor, like snapping your fingers. This creates a conditioned trigger for focus. And then you just go to sleep. Let your subconscious do the heavy lifting for you. All right, let's move on to Module 2. Now, we're going to debunk one of the biggest myths in all of productivity, the idea that you need absolute silence to focus. We're going to do the exact opposite. We are going to forge an unbreakable attentional filter by training in controlled chaos. You see, the standard approach has a huge flaw. Always seeking silence creates a fragile focus, one that just shatters at the first little distraction. The optimized paradigm, on the other hand, doesn't run from distraction. It uses it as a training tool. By intentionally introducing some background noise, we force the brain's attentional filter to work harder, and over time, it gets stronger, just like any other muscle. And here's the protocol for this, for neuropriming. Start your study session in a quiet place to get a baseline. Then introduce a low-level, controlled distraction. Ambient coffee shop noise on YouTube works perfectly for this. Now, set a timer for 7-minute intervals. This is to practice disengaging and then re-engaging your focus on command. But the real key here is progressive overload. Over the next few sessions, you're going to gradually increase the volume and the complexity of that background noise. Your brain will have no choice but to adapt by becoming ruthlessly efficient at filtering it all out. In Module 3, we're going to leverage the brain's oldest and most powerful systems, its sensory and spatial processing. Instead of trying to create brand new pathways for every memory, we're going to anchor new information directly onto pre-existing, super robust neural networks that are already tied to our senses and our environment. I mean, think about this in action. You've had it happen, right? That powerful, totally involuntary memory that gets triggered by a smell? That is not a fluke. It's a direct, hardwired link to your limbic system, a core feature of our brain's operating system. And we're about to turn that feature into a tool for on-demand information retrieval. And here's how you systematize it. You build what's called a cue-to-data association matrix. For example, you link a specific smell, like cinnamon, to a specific subject, like Spanish vocabulary. Chew cinnamon gum when you study Spanish, and then later, that smell will actually prime your brain for recall. Or use physical locations. Post a key formula on your refrigerator door. Every time you walk past it, your brain gets a tiny little micro-repetition. This method turns your entire environment into a memory palace, a dynamic, interactive cheat sheet for your life. Okay, on to our final module, and this one might feel a little counterintuitive at first. Instead of deep diving into one topic for hours, we're going to rapidly switch between completely unrelated subjects. This technique is called active interleaving, and it forces the brain to build broader, more flexible neural connections. Think of this process as neural cross-training. When you force your brain to switch contexts, say from calculus to ancient history, it can't just rely on one little set of specialized neurons. It has to build connections between different neural areas. This creates a much more robust and interconnected web of knowledge. It's essentially giving you a 2-for-1 upgrade on both memory and your conceptual understanding.
And the protocol for this is brutally simple, but so effective. You just use a timer. Engage in deep, focused work on topic A for exactly 10 minutes. When that timer goes off, you perform a hard switch. No break, no transition. You go directly into topic B for 10 minutes. Then back to A, or maybe onto a topic C. It's that rapid context shifting that drives the incredible neurological adaptation. So, we've now tested 4 distinct, powerful modules. It's time to synthesize them all into a single, integrated protocol. See, this isn't about just picking your favorite technique. It's about stacking them systematically for a compounding effect on your cognitive performance. Here is your 4-week implementation schedule. In week 1, you start with the theta wave integration every single night. In week 2, you add the neuropriming to all of your active study sessions. Week 3, you build out your sensory spatial map, your memory palace, and your sensory triggers. And finally, in week 4, you integrate the active interleaving. By the end of just 1 month, all 4 of these systems will be running in parallel, fundamentally rewiring your entire learning architecture. Look, this protocol isn't just theory. It's a set of operational directives. The tools are now in your hands. The only remaining variable is your own execution. So the question isn't whether it works. The question is, what monumental task are you going to apply it to first?
To keep optimizing your life with science, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to Simply Optimized Lab right now.